Okay, folks, in this video, we will be covering text and how to insert text into your composition as well as change some of the attributes of your text, whether they be opacity, position, scale, etc. Okay, for this demonstration, I am going to bring in the jump slow-mo video from our AE Exercise Files 1 folder. And once again, if you folks would like to follow along or just practice, you folks can get this particular video file from the class website. If you scroll down all the way to the download section, you have the AE exercise files 1.zip. Just click on that and you can download the exercise files. Okay, so we have our video loaded. And I'm going to come up here to the toolbar and click on the text tool. Now, you can click anywhere here, even off of the video if you want to start typing out your text. I'm just going to type or click right here. And you'll see this red line here, that's the cursor. And I'm just going to type out a simple word, test. Okay. Now, if you go over to the right side of the screen here, you have these panels that are closed up. You can open every panel by clicking next to their title. In this case, I wanted to show you folks paragraph. By default, your folks' paragraph justification or the word justification when you type out should be left justified. You folks may want to consider, it's up to you, middle justification instead of left justified as you type out stuff. The reason being, you'll see in just a few more moments, but for now I'm going to leave it left justified so I can show you folks what I mean. I'm going to open up the character panel and I want to make the text a little bit bigger. Now you have the preset text size here. If you click on the drop down arrow box, you select 72. Obviously nothing happened is because I don't have the text selected. So in order to make the change, you gotta highlight the text. So left mouse click and hold down the left mouse button as you drag across. That'll highlight the text. Then you can change the size. Now if any of these preset sizes don't match the size you're looking for, you can always manually type in. So just click in a box and I'll go ahead and click 150. Now it's nice and big. You can also change the text to bold if you wanted to, or bold oblique. You can even do extra bold. A lot of different options here. You can change the height of your text. Right? So a lot of different options you folks can fool around with and practice with. So remember, you get the justification here. I'm going to leave it left for now. I also wanted to show you folks align. If you click on align, you can align your text to the middle so that it's perfectly centered with the rest of your video, if you want it to be centered in the middle here. So you click on here, that'll make it from left to right, it'll make it right in the center. And then if you click on this one, it'll put it right in the center from top to bottom. So if you were to click this one, it'll be center top, center bottom, center center, left center, right center, center center. Okay, so these two buttons will push your text right into the middle there. Okay, so we got our text centered, or do we? You folks will see in just a few more moments. I'm switching to my direct move tool so I can move the text around if I wanted to. Let me Command Z to put it back. Okay, so every time you type out text, you get a text field or layer that is inserted into your layer box. If you open it up, you're gonna get two options to edit your text. The top one, the text, this is a little bit more advanced. So if you folks aren't comfortable with your text, you want to stay away from this one for now. Transform is what you folks will need to animate your text. Okay. Oh, by the way, if you folks wanted to change the color of your text, just highlight it, and you can choose, just like Illustrator, you can choose the fill as well as the stroke. So say if I wanted a white fill and maybe I just double clicked on this right now to bring up the text color box, maybe a red borderline. All right, so that's how you can get that. Now you see the red borderline around here, very slim though. Okay, so that's how you change the color of your text, and you can always swap it, right, by clicking this double-sided arrow here. Okay, you can also choose the default colors with the eyedropper here. So I just wanted to show you folks that really quick. Okay, now for animating, you have of course, the timeline here, and of course you don't want the text to be shown the whole way through. You want it to pop up. So for the most part, you're going to need to first use opacity. In this example, I don't want the text to pop up until probably around the 6-second mark. That's when I want this word to come into view. So what I'm going to do is move my time slider here to the 6-second mark, right about there, and I'm going to move or decrease my opacity down to 0. I also want to click on a stopwatch to put a marker down or a keyframe, letting the computer know from 0 seconds up until 6 seconds I want it to be totally invisible. But at the 6-second mark till probably about the 8-second mark, I want it to fade in. Okay, so I'm going to come here, left mouse click and drag to drag the opacity up to 100, and let's hit the space bar to do a quick playback. And once again, that's how you get it to fade in. And maybe if I wanted to fade out right before the guy comes and jumps, so it looks like he's going to reach here at about the 14-second mark or thereabouts. So if I want the text to fade out before he takes a jump, I'm going to hit the keyframe button. And what this does, by laying a keyframe here with opacity at 100, it tells After Effects from the 8-second mark to the 14-second mark, I want the opacity to be at 100%, or basically visible. Then from the 14-second mark to the 16-second mark, I want it to fade out. So at the 16, I move the timeline indicator to the 16-second mark, and I turn this back down to 0. After Effects will automatically put in a keyframe for me. So let's take a look. I'm going to hit the spacebar to play. So it slowly fades in. stays there up until the 14-second mark, and then from the 14-second mark it slowly fades out. So that is a basically how you folks do opacity animation. Now you folks may want it to fade in faster. If you want it to fade in faster, then the time or the space between the two keyframes has to be shorter. When it's 2 seconds apart, the keyframes, you're telling After Effects you want the text to come in within 2 seconds. So 1/1000, 2/1000. If you want it to come in a lot faster, say maybe within 30 seconds, you folks are going to have to move the keyframe up a bit. It's kind of hard to see the 7 seconds and whatnot, so if you can't do that, you see this blue end right here, that's the total timeline. What you can do is left mouse click, hold down and drag to the left, and you'll see the 7-second mark pop up. Okay, so if you want the text to come in faster, you go to the 7-second mark, leave that right there, click on this keyframe, and then left mouse click and drag, hold down your shift key at the same time so that it'll snap to the timeline indicator. Now if you play back the video, that's pretty fast. If you want it to come in even faster, so about 30 seconds, put your time indicator right smack dab in the middle, or eyeball it. It's right about the middle, between 7 to 8 seconds. Click and drag this and hold on the shift key to snap it. Now that's 30 seconds. So between 7.5 and 8 seconds, right here, that's 30 seconds. Should come in pretty quick. So let's press spacebar. So you folks can see the difference between a 2-second fade in, 1 second fade in, and half a second. Okay. Now, as with video clips, images, and vectors, you folks can also add or stack on multiple animations. So let's get rid of these keyframes here and start over. Remember, to get rid of keyframes, all you have to do is left mouse click and drag a box around them and then hit delete. Or for you Windows users, probably backspace. If not that, then you guys should have delete on your keyboards. Okay, so I'm gonna move my time slider back out so that I have 2-second increments. So by moving this, folks, this little blue slider up here, you can reduce it down so that you can go all the way down to frames. The F stands for frames. So you can basically go down to the seconds mark, and for us, we have 2-second increments. Okay, so I want the video to be totally off, or the opacity for the text to be off. And at the 4-second mark, you know what, let's make it the 6-second mark. I'm going to slide that down to here. At the 6-second mark, do a 2-second fade in, and then it'll come in within 2 seconds. It'll fade in. Stay like that till the 14-second mark. I'm going to hit the keyframe again. And then at the 15-second mark, I am going to... Okay, sorry about that, folks. I had a fire truck driving by. So as I was saying, what I want to do is from the 14-second mark, I want to have the text fade out 2 seconds again. So at the 16-second mark, actually, no, I wanted to at the 15-second mark. So I'm gonna bring this slider down so I can see where 15 seconds is, right there. I want it to go totally off. At the same time, I want the scale to start off as it is now. So I'm gonna click on a stopwatch, and I want it to grow or expand so that when it hits the 15-second mark, it looks like it's expanding off screen. Now I can't see the text right now because of this keyframe. It's set to 0%, so I'm temporarily going to turn up the opacity up to 100. I have to remember to turn it back down to 0 after. I just need it up at 100 so I can see what I'm working with. And I want to up the scale so that it goes off screen like that. But you see what's happening right now? It's not scaling to where it fills the screen. It's scaling off the screen to the right. The reason being is this is the anchor point right here. And in most cases, the anchor point doesn't really matter. But in this case, it does. Okay? So I'm going to reset this back to 0. Or actually 100%. So now, this is where, remember if I told you folks earlier, paragraph comes into play. Because it's left justified, when we typed out the word test, it started from this starting point. It started from this starting point right here, which is left justification. That is why I wanted to show you folks that, so when it came time to animate it, it kind of throws you off a bit. Now if you start with middle justification, it's kind of half the battle right there. Okay, you got half justification done. Okay, sorry folks, that was another ambulance there that just went by, or fire truck. Okay, so as I was saying, we have middle justification now, so that the anchor point is somewhat in the middle. So now if I were to scale it, it's a little off too. So remember, you can always come up to align, click the middle align, and the middle align right there. Now if I were to scale it, let me come up to the 15-second mark and start scaling. It scales from the middle out, but only on the top half. You notice I wanted to scale it so that it takes up the whole screen, not just the middle part. So let me type 100 back in here. Okay. So this is where moving your anchor point comes into play. All right. Instead of having the anchor point here in the middle, what we want to do is move it up. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm moving the wrong item. That was position. I want to move the anchor point up. Now the first set of numbers is left to right to move this anchor point left to right. The second set of numbers here is to move it up or down. Okay, so right there, and you could just eyeball it. That's right about the center. Okay, so now that we have it centered, if we wanted to scale out, I'm going to move my timeline to the 50-second mark. Now going back to scale. Now if I was to scale this, it scales from the middle out. Okay, and that should do it. Now remember, you got to come back down to the opacity. At the 15-second mark, you want it to be totally invisible. So let's play that again. Bring my timeline back to the here and hit the space bar. So test comes into view. Once it hits the 14-second mark, it's going to expand and disappear. So that's how you can incorporate different attributes for text. Now let's get rid of those. Start over. I'm gonna say if you have a actor's name, text is pretty big. If you want to reset your text size or reset everything in all of your settings here, after you open up your character panel, you come over to these three lines here and click on them. They produce a drop down menu, and you go all the way down to the bottom and hit reset character. That resets everything back to normal. So you can go ahead and type out let me delete this layer, the text. I'm going to redo that. So reset character. Now I don't have any text layer again, because basically what I did, let me Command Z. If you want to delete your text, all you got to do is click on it and hit your delete key or backspace key if you're on the Windows, delete key on the Macs, and that gets rid of the text layer. If you want to make another text layer, before you start typing here, you click on your text tool, and before you start typing, try to make sure your justification is in the middle. Okay, and that should be good enough for now. The only time you have to worry about the anchor point for the text is if you're going to do the scaling like how I did. That and rotating your text. Okay, so I'm going to type out the John Doe for my actor name. Make the name a little bit bigger. Okay, so say if you wanted John Doe to come in, but you don't want it to come in until let's go with about the 2-second mark. So let's open up this, transform, and this is the position where it's going to end up. So maybe 1 second you want to have it come in. So what I'm going to do is, using my direct move tool, move this back to the 2-second mark. I'm going to pull this off screen. Remember, as you're moving it, if you hold down the shift key, it locks the movement so that it's a straight line off screen. click the stopwatch so that you lay down your initial keyframe. This is where your John Doe text is going to be. And then I want it to come in fairly quickly at 3 seconds. So I move the time slider first to 3 seconds and then have John Doe come in. Okay, so hit the space bar. Okay, I also want to put an opacity so that it fades in. To 100% once it hits the 3 second mark. Okay, so let's hit the spacebar. Fades in, stays there for 5 seconds, or actually 2 seconds. So from 3 second mark to the 5 second mark, it'll stay there. So I'm going to hit the keyframe again, but instead of having it go back off screen, I'm gonna have it continue going down the screen, but it'll fade out as it moves. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, I was holding down the shift key as I moved it off screen, bringing that back here. I'm also gonna click the keyframe for opacity to tell After Effects that from the 5 second to 7 second mark, or actually maybe the 6 second mark, I want it to fade out completely. So, well, actually, let's go to the 7 second mark and try that first. If it takes too long to fade out, I can move the I can move it in a little. So it fades in. Yeah, that's a little too slow. I want it to fade out sooner, so I'm gonna slide this marker here to the 6 second mark. Let's try it now. Okay, so it slides in and then it fades out. Okay, folks, so that's how you slide it in from the side, or if you folks wanted to slide it from the bottom or the top. You can also have it change directions if you want. So it's slid in this way, right? So from the 5 second mark to the 7 second mark, instead of having it go from left to right, what if, let me delete this keyframe, at the 7 second mark it goes up instead. We got another ambulance coming, hold on. Alright, sorry about that, folks. Okay, we're gonna have the text move off screen this way instead. Okay, so let's try replaying that now. Okay, so the text slides in and then it goes up. So as you can see, you folks have a lot of different options available to you folks in terms of animating your text. Fairly simple, straightforward. Okay, and you can add as much text lines as you folks want. Now, if you folks would like to spice up your text animation a little bit more, this is all that's required, what I'm showing you. But if you folks want to get a little bit more fancy, there's tons of tutorials on YouTube. You can type in After Effects text animation or tutorials. Tons of videos to watch. Also, After you get a feel for it, you can even try your hand at the Marvel. Um, the Marvel title opening sequence that can be done in After Effects. So you folks can check all of these out too. After Effects Text Marvel. All right, folks. So practice and apply these techniques to your composition. And remember, if you folks ever need to align your text or any item in After Effects, use the alignment panel to do that. Okay?